During a lunch break at work, I sat and chatted with my colleague Georgia about my blog and the idea that dishes from different cultures often have stories behind them. We were very engaged into the conversation, and she told me of her special love to the Turkish and Iranian cuisine. Besides being engaged to an Iranian man, Georgia has picked up many Iranian and Turkish recipes over the years and enjoys learning more and more about their food culture. I took this opportunity to propose an interview with her about her favorite dishes and find out if she knows the stories behind her favorite Iranian and Turkish dishes.
Thanks very much, Georgia, for taking this interview. Let me just start off by asking you what favourite foods you enjoy best from a specific kind of culture.
I really like Middle Eastern food, so mainly Iranian and Turkish food.
Mm-hmm. How were you introduced to this type of food culture?
Well, I actually kind of grew up eating a lot of Iranian food because we have a lot of family friends who are Iranian, and my dad always loved the cooking, so he'd always read the cookbooks and then kind of cook it with his own twist. And then Turkish food, more recently, I live in north-east London, and there are a lot of Turkish restaurants. Also because my fiancé is Iranian, but he's from the northeastern part of Iran where they speak Turkish. And so kind of got a connection to both Iranian and Turkish food.
So I guess you cook Turkish or Iranian food yourself?
A little bit. I dabble with it, but mostly I eat it out.
A couple of dishes, do you have preferences?
Yeah. So one dish that I cook, for example, is rice with dates and lentils. It's called adas polo. This is a really tasty rice. I don't know if it's up to Iranian standards, but I like it. Turkish food. There's a really nice dish called imam bayıldı.
What ingredients does that dish involve?
It's a stuffed aubergine. It's an aubergine. It's roasted. Actually, I think it might be deep fried, but it's cut in half, and it's got tomatoes and onions and different vegetables.
So going back to my blog, as I mentioned earlier, about the idea that every kind of dish we eat from our culture carries somehow a story behind it. I mean, not all dishes do carry a story, but most tend to. Do you have a preferred Turkish or Iranian dish that you think carries a story, or there's a story behind that favourite dish?
There's a bit of a story behind the name of Imam Bayıldı because it actually means the Imam fainted, like the Imam as in the Imam from the mosque. My Turkish teacher, why is it called Imam Bayıldı? What does that mean? And she just said, because it was so tasty that it made the Imam faint. That's the story behind the name. I'm not sure where it originates from though, but I think it's a traditional dish, so that story's always been there with the name.
Do you agree or disagree with the idea that we should know where our dishes originate from, or we should have some sort of idea what we're eating and the culture behind the food that we're eating?
Yeah, I think it's good to know where your food comes from, and food can be a really good insight into a culture. I think quite often, you're not always going to know all the details of the history of a particular dish, but it's nice to, the more you know, the more you enjoy the food, really.
Do you know any of an Iranian dish that carries a story behind it?
I don't really know the stories behind the Iranian dishes. There might be some, but I'm not really aware of them. But I know about the food, where it comes from, and for example, there's a really famous kufta. Kufta is like a meatball. So kufta is normally small meatballs, but from Tabriz, which is northern part of Iran, they have a kufta called kufta Tabrizi, and it's the size of it's the size of a plate, just one meatball, but it has a whole chicken inside of it.
Wow.
So it's a really famous type of kufta because it's really hard to make to get it to stick together, and it's only from that part of Iran. I'm not sure really I don't know if there is a story behind it, but it's kind of an interesting dish.
Surely there should be a story behind that one.
I'll have to ask my future mother-in-law.
In general though, do you cook at home your preferred dishes, whether Iranian or Turkish?
I do cook. I don't think I cook the exact dishes that Iranian. I think I'm influenced by that cuisine, and I cook the food that I've kind of grown up with, and I'm not really limited to one particular type of food. I cook my own food, but I am definitely influenced by those flavours, and I use the ingredients and that kind of thing. I usually would modify it a bit. Wouldn't change the flavours too much because that's what makes it tasty,
I take it I'd be learning more and more from you then, or you'd give me tutorials on how to make imam balda.
Well, I have to find out myself first. That's the one that I normally eat out.
Interesting. Would you be willing to participate on my blog and
Yeah.
probably post like foods from different cultures that you may know of?
Yeah, I'll do my research and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thanks so much for the interview, Georgia. It's very, very interesting to understand the love you carry for the Iranian and Turkish cuisine. Thanks so much for the information that you've given me, and you'll find that on my blog, so do visit it and let me know what you think.
I will.